All right, welcome team. We are Monday Night Team Call. Jamie Haskin here, Diamond Ambassador, and I'm really excited to talk to you guys about specifically coaching calls tonight. But I want to say right off the bat, this is going to be really great for everybody, whether you just started, whether you are helping do some of these coaching calls, or whether you're coaching new people or very seasoned people. So we're going to cover a broad spectrum of things here tonight. So first of all, let's start off talking about the word intentional. We have a lot of resources in this team, and Plexus helps us work intentionally in this business, right? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We definitely don't have a lack of resources at our disposal. And we talk about being intentional in terms of our IPA, reaching out, posting, getting on calls like this about building relationships or personal growth, all of these things. But let's look at being intentional with our vision. And what I want to really hone in and focus on is how that this can be connected. It can be connected in so many areas of our business in terms of our why and casting vision, but how this specifically connects with coaching calls. So being intentional with our vision, if we know where we're going, right? We want to be intentional with how we are going to get there. So coaching calls with our upline is a tool that we can use to map out not only where we're going, but also where we have come from and kind of make some connections on our journey and as we're moving forward. So more on that later. And diving even deeper, you can be intentional on looking at where there might be gaps and specific areas for you to work on and for your team. So this is going to be part of the action steps to our vision and to seeing where our team is going and how it's specifically going to get there. Consistency, just like in any other area that we talk about, is key, right? So doing this just once or twice or just sporadically is not going to get you the same kind of results if you do this and work intentionally with this consistently. So first of all, who is this for? If you are not exactly where you want to be in your business, if you've not reached diamond, if you've not reached your goals, and even then, because diamonds still have goals, right? This is for you. So this means that it is the new person coming in who just joined, and it means every rank to the top of this company. You are not above coaching calls because you've done this for a certain amount of time or because you're a certain rank, okay? Right out there. This isn't just for your IPA or just the basics. This is, I'm going to go into different levels here, but this at the end, we're going to talk specifically about diving into your whole team and digging deeper into what that looks like. So it's going to look different depending on where each person is. If these are offered to you, jump on them, say yes, use them. Even more so, reach out to your upline. Ask for regular coaching calls. And if this is not something that's been offered to you in the past yet, then that's what this call is for, because it's an incredible tool that each person can utilize and learn how to do it and duplicate down with your team. So if you are the upline, you cannot effectively know what's going on with your team, especially at a deeper level, if you're not doing regular coaching calls. So this is a window into your business. This is being intentional, getting on the phone with a coaching call. It's different than just a three-way chat or even randomly calling with questions. When done intentionally, you can help identify what's working, what's maybe missing, gaps in duplication, identify goals and action steps, what's holding people back. You can look into if your leaders are developing leaders and identify needs of focus for training on a larger scale. Maybe that's videos on the team page or calls or things that you need to be honing in on. You can gather that by being in touch with your team on a deeper level. So this is a big source of accountability as well. So setting those goals and identifying things out loud to your upline makes it real. It holds oneself accountable. And as a leader, you're helping discover these things and helping your people stay on track as they work towards these goals. So if this is new to you, before any worry or panic or something different comes into play here, I'm going to assume for a second that you have not done a coaching call before, or maybe you've done them and you don't need more, or you just don't know how to best utilize them. This, I know, was a concept for me years ago where when it first was introduced to us to start doing, I was not a big fan, mostly because it scared me. It was something I didn't necessarily know how to do. I didn't feel comfortable or confident as a leader. I felt like I had to know all the answers and have, be an expert as a leader in order to do a coaching call. And so it froze me. So I procrastinated at doing it. So that is far from the truth. And we're going to talk more about that. But this is not something where you have to be the expert. You have to know all the things in order to do this. So it's a skill that can be learned and developed, and just like any other skill. But in order to do that, you have to start, right? You have to start somewhere, and we learn along the way. So things get more comfortable the more you do them, and you'll gain confidence in this. And even more so, you're going to be teaching your level ones, and that's something that can duplicate down. If you're not doing them, likely your team will not be doing them either. Quick myths of what coaching calls are all about. So I think sometimes you think what they may or may not be. So what they are not, it's not, like I said, being the expert and having to have all the answers ahead of time. It's not just straight up telling your level one what to do all the time. It's not a Q&A for your level one to ask you all the questions that they have to their upline, right? We have three-way chats for that. There's a time and place for that. That's not the time and place. It's not just about catching up on life. It's not just a vent session about what's going wrong or all the excuses. Now, there's a time and place for venting up, right? That's what we say. If you have to vent up, there's a time and place. But this is not how your coaching calls are going to be run on a consistent basis. And it's not just a cheerleading rah-rah session. What coaching calls are, they're going to be the upline asking leading questions, helping establish weekly and monthly goals. And it's not you being responsible for the outcome. So getting started, anyone who has goals in this business, I start with telling them a few basic things, which, we get down to the basics of how they can be consistent in a few areas, right? IPA chats, team calls, book club, basics. But along with that, I automatically start them on weekly coaching calls. I will give them a couple times that and see if that works for them. And I schedule 30-minute calls. Now you do what you do you. If you have a crazy schedule and you need to do 20-minute calls or 15-minute calls, but figure out what works in your time and schedule those times in. I like to personally do them back to back in a certain time if I can. I'm flexible if it doesn't work out, but if I can, I do them back to back. So for me, I have Mondays and Wednesday afternoons, and I schedule a few back to back. And the reason I do that is because it helps me stick to a 30-minute slot. So when I start the coaching call, I get to 30 minutes and I wrap that up because I have another one scheduled coming up next, right? And the reason for that, and that leads me to talking about your time is valuable, okay? You have to be intentional with the time that you have. So the length of a call, I know some of us can talk for an hour or maybe 2 hours. And, some people maybe don't like to be on the phone, so maybe that's not a problem. But I know there's some of you out there, and I know that I can easily get caught up talking longer. And there's a time and a place sometimes for those longer conversations. But as a general rule of thumb, your time is valuable. You don't have time to be talking hours and hours willy-nilly on end with all of your level ones. So schedule your time and be specific. You can wrap up that time by saying, our time is up for today, but let's finish this conversation in our three-way chat. And you can move on. So another thing that your time is valuable, what is being discussed? Remember, it's not a free-for-all Q&A. It's not an event session. So as a leader, you're going to be the one directing the conversation. This doesn't mean you talk the whole time. It doesn't mean you monopolize it, but you're asking those leading questions. You're going over areas to hone in on goals and possible gaps and strengths for your downline. So we'll talk more about what that looks like here shortly. And then another thing about being valuable with your time is who you are getting on these with. I initially said I get on them with anyone who wants to run the business, right? While that's true, if you're pouring into somebody on a weekly basis with your coaching calls, but they're not doing their IPA or they're not showing up on calls, or they're not connecting and doing like the weekly goals maybe you guys set together, then they might not be earning your time. And that's sometimes a hard thing to say, because if you are a yellow, or if you're someone who just wants to help everybody or maybe handhold everybody, you want to work with anybody and do all the things, but you have to set those standards for your time and for their time, for what you're working with. So if you're setting those weekly goals, for example, like they're going to listen to a training video every day, or they're going to reach out to X amount of people, and they didn't do any of that, then something you could do is say, let's postpone our coaching call for this week. You can work on what we already established from last week, and we'll pick this up again next week. And if they continue to do that on a daily basis, maybe you need to hold off on coaching calls altogether. But don't be afraid to postpone this week's if they're not doing anything that you guys talked about last week, right? You don't need to re-talk about the same exact thing you talked about last week. And then you can also utilize a worksheet, which I'm going to show you at the end of this call, that they could fill out before your coaching call. And if they don't fill that out and you ask them to do it before your coaching call, then again, you can postpone it to next week, but it gives you something tangible to go off of. And then with that being said, I give grace to people. Obviously, in the beginning, someone's new, you're going to be learning and helping them, casting that vision and getting into these new habits and all the things. So there's going to be some grace. Not everything runs exactly perfectly the same and whatever else. It is what it is. But you're setting yourself up for your time being valuable with your team and helping them realize the importance of being consistent and showing up. And that's how they're going to duplicate that down too. So remember, what you're doing will duplicate. And then we are going to talk a little bit more about the how now. So I'm going to actually screen share here for a hot second and show you, let's see. I think I'm going to screen share 1 second. Oh, there we go. My phone's just taking a second. Or my computer. Security. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. I have a new computer. It's putting up security stuff. What the world? Oh. Okay. Yay, I think I'm screen sharing. Slideshow, let's start this. Okay, y'all can see this, right? Thumbs up. Hopefully, Jacqueline, I can see you. Good, cool. All right, coaching calls. Let's move to here. Okay, so I'm going to start off going over some really basics really quick because I want to hone in on some stuff at the end here. But say you're starting off with someone in the beginning. I'm going to minimize this. Okay, someone at the beginning, and you still need to go over their why. This is important right from the beginning, right? You have to go over their why, establish that. So ask some questions to bring that up, right? If time and money were of no object, what would look different for you and your family? What would life look like? When you reach your goal with this opportunity, what does that mean for you? Just kind of ask some questions and get down to their why and dig deep to figure out what's really deep down their why, because that's going to be important for moving forward with everything else, right? So also, last one here, if you haven't talked about their why in a while, bring that up again. Maybe they've reached their why, or maybe their why has changed. So something always good to go over periodically. If you're just starting coaching calls especially, these are just some example questions that you could kind of keep on hand. For me, when I started, I felt like I was not a good question asker. I just didn't feel like that was a strength. I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know how to ask or what to say when, but this is something that as you do this and as you just learn to dig deeper and ask the questions, it's going to be more comfortable. And maybe you're already a pro and you're great at this, but if it is something that you don't feel as confident in, it is something that can be a skill that can be developed. So you can always, write some of these things down and have them in front of you when you're doing a call, just to kind of help trigger some ways to talk more. It's just getting, digging deeper when there's struggles or something going on. A lot of times people can answer their own questions and what's going on if you just help lead them and get them there, So tell me more. Why do you think that is? What do you think is holding you back? Tell me more about what that looks like. Just ask more questions. So this is just some examples. I'll put this PowerPoint in the team page, and I have a couple forms at the end I will put in there too. So you can also take a picture if you want. In terms of before you get on your coaching call, what I think is really important and helpful to do, especially at the beginning of the month when you're doing one to set up the month for your goals and helping people look at that, you yourself to go into your virtual office and look at your team member is very helpful. So go into your virtual office, pull up their name. You go to My Business, Points and Rank Up, click on the little plus there and click View Team. And you can actually see what their organization there looks like, who they have under them, what their points are, their joins, things like that. And you can change the month in the top right corner and look back a month or 2 months, and you can jot down some notes and see how that has looked like and what has changed. How have their points changed in the last few months? How are their joins going? Are they going up? Are they going down? Look at some patterns and just take some note, because when you go and get on your call, you have some things to work with when you're actually setting up those goals and helping determine what's a realistic goal as well. If they have a goal to hit a certain rank and get 40 joins, but their last couple months they had 10 joins, it's not to say that's not possible, but what are their action steps going to be that's going to be different from the last couple months to make those joins tremendously grow, right? So help them make realistic goals, but also map out, okay, well, what are you going to do differently, or what's that going to look like? How's that going to happen? So if you come into the coaching call with some data, you can help map that out with them too. And then getting on the phone, and this is specifically talking about kind of the beginning of the month, helping, like I just said, get those personal goals out, asking them, what is your personal goal? Is it, maybe it's a next rank, maybe it's a certain amount of joins, or maybe it's a point growth goal, whatever that is, what is that? So you can ask along with that, how many personal joins? So say it's gold in November. Maybe they have a personal join, they want to get 3 joins or 6 joins. Who can you get to silver? Ask them that question. How many silvers, do you have a goal for developing? Break it down together to see what's possible. So say October, they had 60 points. Gold is 100 points, right? They need 40 points to go. That's 8 people. So if they could personally get 5 joins and develop 1 silver, they're gold. If that's, is that a realistic goal for them? Is that achievable? Is it way achievable to do way more? If it is, then help them set a point growth goal. How close can you get to senior gold? What numbers are you looking at to do that? And then look at their virtual office together. Who do they have that's ordering right now? Who needs subs on? Who can they get to silver? Who's been loving their products that, maybe you could do an event for, or talk to them about the vision, about the business or the opportunity, or, if they would share their testimony. So looking and helping them break down what they currently have at their team at their disposal, and then what's coming in. Every new join coming in is a potential silver. So how are they are they sharing it? Are they opening their mouth and talking about the opportunity? And then just a quick overview when you look at that in terms of identifying their why, identifying goals, and mapping out a plan. And when you look at a weekly goal, so you're connecting on a weekly basis, you can kind of check in and see how things are going. So for example, we talked about, by the time that you get on our next coaching call, you're going to check with this many people about doing an event, or you're going to send this 64 worksheet to a new join and invite them to do their first post. Or, whatever that is, you can check in that next week and see if they did that. That's where you have the accountability come in. That's where you can message them beforehand and see if they reach those goals before you even get on the call. Or not reach those goals, but they did the action steps, right? And then duplicating this down. So this is basic kind of overview in terms of especially a coaching call with somebody newer, or just that beginning of the month coaching call you're going to be connecting with your people on. Digging a little deeper here. I wanted to get something possibly here for you guys, that if you wanted something tangible to use, that you had some direction on your coaching call. And this is something like a form that you could send to your level 1 and that you could even give them before your coaching call, a couple days in advance or whatever, and they can fill it out and send it to you before your scheduled time. And this prompts them to fill out these questions. And you can look at here, you see previous month and current month. So you can look at, what their points were, team joins, personal joins, and you can track that during the month. So if you're doing weekly coaching calls, you can track that, right? You can track, if their goal has a certain amount of joins, but you're getting into week 3 and you're not even kind of close at all, like what needs to change in activity. You can kind of track that throughout the month. Talking about what are your personal affirmations. You guys, this is something really good. If you're having coaching calls and there's a hang up in mindset and there's some negativity or lack of confidence in an area or whatever it is, those are great things to switch around for personal affirmations. So instead of just asking, are you doing personal affirmations, write out your personal affirmations. And that's something that can stay the same for a month, or it could change a little bit here and there. So what are they? What are you saying out loud and telling yourself? What are you currently listening and reading to? Hopefully you are doing book club, right? But on top of that, what else are you reading? Maybe you need some extra leadership focus. Maybe it's belief in network marketing and honing in on some of that. And you can talk about that on your coaching call too, in terms of if there's anything you as a leader recommend to that person to be doing. What's your monthly goal? How's the progress? How do they think the progress is going? Again, weekly goal. Did they work on it? What do they think is going really well right now? What's an area that needs focus? Any hurdles that they're encountering? What do they see happening? And then I think it's always important to talk about silver development, new people sharing. Are there conversations about the business happening? These are important things to look. If there's a big gap in some of these things, there's likely a big gap in your growth. I know at least that's for me that I've seen in the past in terms of lulls in, how fast you're moving or momentum. Usually silver development is down. So in, being proactive about that and being intentional and looking and seeking those things out. How are your people plugging in? Okay, so this is where we start to dig a little deeper, and this next slide is going to show this even more so. But how are your people plugging in? Are they duplicating? Are they getting on calls? And I'm talking about your workers here. Are your leaders, are they doing coaching calls? How are those going? Are your leaders developing leaders? And this will get me into the next one, but it starts that conversation a little bit, and it gives you some direction that you can pull some of this. You don't have to pull all of it, but some of this on your coaching call, or depending on where that needs to go. But it gives you some direction instead of maybe freezing up like I probably was in the beginning and not knowing where to go with this. And it gives you an insight into your business on a different or a very specific level. Okay, so stick with me here. This is something that I think can be very helpful. Use it or don't use it, up to you, but I'm going to explain why I think this is helpful. This is something that you could print off and have for each of your working level ones. You'd put their name at the top. So say my level one's name is Sarah, and I can have this specifically for her whole downline, and I can hone in on this and kind of see for any gaps and such on a coaching call. So I'm going to write down the last 3 months. I did not put the points in there just for sake of whatever time, but the benefit to that is you could see the points, total joins, and personal joins for the last 3 months and track any progress and how that's going. Is it improving? Is it staying the same? Is there some dips? Like what do you see? And when you look back at those 3 months, sometimes you can see some big things that you don't intentionally look. And then from there, I have here, these 3 boxes are for Sarah's working level ones. So this is not all her level ones. This is not product users. This is people who want to, do the business, who want to work. And it gives me some insight into who she has, right? So Sarah has Mary, who's working the business, and she has Liz, and that's what she has right now. So in my mind, power of 3 here, I'm going to be like, okay, a goal for Sarah would be great for her to get 1 more business builder. So she has 3, top 20%. We talk about honing in on that top 20%. So she has 3 business builders who want to run. So Sarah needs another business builder, right? We can't just have one leg. We need to be wide, especially with business builders. She might have more, great. So here's Mary. Mary has Jane. Jane has 3 business builders. Remember, these are not, whoops, didn't mean to do that. These are not wholesalers. These are business builders. So Mary has Jane. Jane has these 3 people. So that's awesome. But now I have some insight. So I can tell Sarah, okay, Mary's doing great. You told me she's doing awesome. She's duplicating well. She's plugging in. She has Jane. She's duplicating well so far. Great. Who else does Mary have? Well, not really anybody doing the business. Okay, great. That's an area to hone in on and focus on, right? That's something to work with Mary on to get more business builders. And then you can also have her focus in on Jane. Okay, she has these 3 business builders. Who do they have? Are they duplicating that down? Same thing with Liz. I can look and see, okay, Liz has 3 business builders. Awesome. How are they doing? Tara has 1, Dan has 1, but Jill doesn't have any, and Tara only has 1 and Dan. So they need to be wide. They got to have more than just 1. So here are some areas to focus on. And then again, another one here where she can continue to build another leg. So what I love about this is being able to be intentional on making sure your leaders are developing leaders, and where there might be gaps in that, or where you can ask the questions to see where there needs to be more growth. So this is getting deeper. This is getting into maybe people with bigger teams, people who are sharing and starting to have that level 1, level 2. So I told you I was going to share kind of all the levels here with coaching calls. And again, use the tools that work for you or don't work for you, but this is just something that I think gives you visibility and helps you work intentionally with your people to make sure you are wide and that people are healthy in terms of how they're building their team, if that makes sense. I will stop sharing for now. Okay, so those are just some tools. Again, the beginning part is just getting started, right? There's not a right or wrong way. At the end of the day, get talking, that's good. So get talking with your people, but it does help to be intentional. It does help to not do just a Q&A, right? It does help to be specific in how you are moving forward with your people and with your team. So asking the specific questions or honing in on specific goals and looking deeper into where there might be gaps or how they're working. And always ask, don't assume whatever you're telling your level 1 that they are duplicating that down. Not to say that they're, doing a bad job. They might be doing a great job, but sometimes we forget to, sometimes you can get focused in, okay, I got to make sure I do this and this, but some things forget to be passed down, so just ask the questions. Have you gotten on a call and talked with your level 1 about this yet? Have you started these yet? Just ask questions. That's why the question asking is good, and how you can get deeper into your business by just talking to your level 1. Again, you're not working with your level 4 and 5, right? We're not working that deep. We're not calling them and doing coaching calls with them because you're raising up leaders. So we're working with our level 1 and asking them what they're talking to their level 2 and raising up leaders. So you have the ability to kind of reach down to 4s and 5s simply through your coaching calls with your level 1s by doing that. I will upload this stuff into the team page. I think I saw that question, and that's all I got for you. So thank you guys for getting on. Use those coaching calls, get started, reach out to your upline to get them organized or get them scheduled if you haven't already. And I hope this was helpful. Hope you guys have a good night. See you guys.